Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Today I'll be teaching you how to make a sporty cable bralette. I am a sucker for a good set, so when I made these cable shorts, I knew I had to make a bralette to go with them. It's clean, modern, and paired with the shorts gives the best sunny vibes. Speaking of, if you're feeling sunny vibes and want a crochet wardrobe to match, you're in the right place. We've got hundreds of modern crochet designs with plenty more coming, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on the show, so without further ado, for this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 175 grams of yarn. That's 300 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 6mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. And enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite pizza toppings. For me, I'd order mushrooms and olives 99% of the time, and that extra 1% I will be adding pineapples. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 6 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, and double treble crochet. This tutorial is for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain on to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we are all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're all going to grab our 6mm hook, and we're all going to start off by making a chain of 9 no matter what size, because we're getting started with our cable stitch detail first. Now that we have our chain 9, we are going to block off that last chain and do a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain, and now we're going to half double crochet all the way down our chain. So yarn over, into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Let's do this again. Yarn over, into that following chain, insert your hook, pull through all 3. Continue to put 1 half double crochet into every chain. Now that we have our first half double crochet row all finished up, our row 2 is also going to be a half double crochet row. So we're going to chain 2, still doesn't count as a stitch, flip our work, and then put 1 half double crochet into every stitch for a total of 9 half double crochets. And now that our row 2 is all finished up, let's get started on our first cable stitch row, which is going to be our row 3. So chain 2, flip our work. Now each of our cable stitch rows is going to be worked into our previous odd number row. So since we're working on row 3, all of our stitches are going to be worked into row 1. And the beginning and end of our cable stitch detail is always going to start with a pillar or a front post treble crochet. So how we do that is yarn over twice, taking a look at our row 1 and finding the first half double crochet, making sure that we're not counting that chain 2. We're going to bring our hook down and then insert our hook underneath the body of that half double crochet and then through the other side. Now from here we're going to yarn over, pull through, and from here we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that is our first front post treble crochet. Now let's get started on our cable stitch detail. Our cable stitch detail is going to be worked in sets of 2. So we're going to start by yarning over 3 times. That prepares us for our front post double treble crochet. We're going to skip the following 2 stitches from our row 1. So here's 1, here's 2, Into that third, insert your hook underneath the body of that half double crochet through the other side. Yarn over, pull through, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook again. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. There's our front post double treble crochet finished up. Now we have 1 more left to do because, like I said, they're worked in sets of 2. Yarn over 3 times. Into that following stitch, into our row 1, insert your hook underneath that stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, 2, and 2. Now from there, we're going to be working into those 2 skip stitches that we made. So starting with this first stitch right here, yarn over 3 times, preparing for a front post double treble crochet. Insert your hook underneath the first, pull through 2, 2, 2, and 2, and then 1 more underneath that following stitch. Yarn over 3 times. Into that following skip stitch, insert your hook underneath and pull through. Pull through 2, 2, 2, and 2. Now the next 2 stitches we need to do is a set of 2 front post treble crochets. So yarn over twice, into that following stitch, which should be the 4th to last stitch from our row 1. Insert your hook underneath there, pull through 2, 2, 2, 1 more into that following stitch, because remember they're worked in sets of 2, so yarn over twice. Into that following stitch, pull through 2, 2, 2. Now from here, we're going to need to close off this row with 1 front post treble crochet, which is going to be the same as the pillar that we started this row off with, and then a half double crochet. So yarn over twice. Insert your hook into the 2nd to last stitch from our row 1, and through the other side. Pull through 2, 2, 2, and that is that. The last stitch is going to be a half double crochet, so yarn over, and into the last stitch from our previous row, insert your hook into there, pull through all 3. And now our first cable stitch row, or row 3, is all finished up. Each of our even number rows is going to be a half double crochet row. So from here, chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Alright, our row 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all finished up. Let's get started on our row 5, or our second cable stitch row. So chain 2, flip our work. Now when it comes to our cable stitch rows, it's always going to start and end with a front post treble crochet, so let's do that one. Like I said, each of our cable stitch rows is going to be worked into our previous odd number row, so since we're working on row 5, we're going to be inserting our hook into our row 3's stitches. So starting with a yarn over of 2, we're going to find the first stitch from our previous cable row, which is this front post treble right here. Insert your hook underneath that stitch and through the other side, pull through 2, 2, and 2. Now to get started on the cable stitch detail, we're still going to be working in sets of 2, and we're going to start by putting 1 front post treble crochet into each of the following 2 stitches. So yarn over twice, into that first stitch, insert your hook, pull through 2, 2, 2, and then into the stitch right after that as well. So yarn over twice, insert your hook underneath, pull through 2, 2, 2. Now we need to work on the crossover, so start by yarning over 3 times. We're going to skip the following 2 stitches, and then into the stitch right after that, we're going to insert with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then 1 more into that following stitch. So yarn over 3 times. And now that we have that, we're going to be doing another set of 2 front post double treble crochets, but working into that window that we just made for ourselves. So how we're going to do that is start with a yarn over of 3. We're going to hang on to our working yarn because it can very easily fall off, and what we're going to do is pull our work down, finding those 2 skip stitches in through that window. So we're going to pull our work down towards us, and here is my first skip stitch. Here's my second. Start by inserting your hook in through that first skip stitch, and then do our front post double treble crochet per usual. And this is what the crossover should look like, and we should have one more stitch left to do, so let's do that together. Start with a yarn over of 3, hang on to our work yarn and pull our work down. Find that following skip stitch, bring your hook back and underneath that stitch. Pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, 2, and 2. And now the cable stitch section is all finished up. We need to close off this row with our pillar, which is always a front post treble. So yarn over twice, and then into the last stitch from our previous row, making sure that we're not taking a look at our half double crochet. Bring our hook underneath that stitch, pull through 2, 2, 2, and then to finish off this row and secure it down, half double crochet into the last stitch from our previous row. So just insert your hook into there and half double crochet. Now our first 5 rows are all finished up, so getting started on a row 6, which is an even number row, just chain 2, flip your work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Now all together we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows all finished up. Now I'm just going to get started with our following cable stitch row just to remind you guys how we're going to do it, but all we're going to do is repeat rows 3 through 6 until we get the height of the front panel that we want. So getting started on a row 7, we're going to chain 2, flip our work. Now like I said, we're going to be repeating rows 3 through 6. So we're going to start with a repeat of row number 3. So just as a refresher, we're always going to start with a front post treble crochet. So into that first stitch from our row 5, 1 front post treble. And then to start our repeat of row 3, we're going to yarn over 3 times, skip the first 2 stitches, into that following stitch, 1 front post double treble crochet, and then into that following stitch, another front post double treble crochet, and then that's it. All we're going to do is continue to repeat these rows until we get the height of the front panel that we want, so placing the first row right underneath our bust, and continuing until this covers as much of your chest as you would like. So if you'd like to cover more, add more rows, or if you'd like to cover a little less, add fewer rows. And I'll meet you back right after a cable stitch row. And if you guys need a refresher on any of these rows, so rows 3 through 6, they will be linked in the description. Alright, so I am back and I'm all finished up with my cable stitch detail. Now I only have a total of 15 rows and my height is just about 5 inches or 13 centimeters. And now we're going to start working on the front panel. So right after our last cable stitch row, what we're going to do from here is chain 1, and then turn our work, and we're going to start doing a single crochet row along the side of our cable stitch detail. And we're going to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. Now this is my first available side row right over here. So I'm going to start with just 1 single crochet. I'm going to insert my hook into that side row and do 1 single crochet. And my next side row is this one right over here. And I'm going to insert my hook into that top loop with 2 single crochets. So here is my first, here is my second single crochet. Let's do this again. This is my following side row, so I'm going to insert my hook into there with 1 single. This is my following side row, insert my hook into there with 2 singles. So there's 1, and then there's 2. And that's it. We're going to continue to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. I will meet you back at the bottom. I've just made my way all the way down with my single crochet row. Now from here on out, we're going to be doing back loop slip stitch rows. So at the end of this single crochet row, we're just going to chain 1 and flip our work. To do our back loop slip stitch rows, we're going to find the last stitch from our previous row, insert your hook into that back loop. Once we have both of those loops on our hook, just yarn over and gently pull through everything. There's our first back loop slip stitch. Let's do the next one. Into that next stitch's back loop, insert your hook, yarn over, gently pull through everything, and then that's it. Let's just do one more. Find that next stitch's back loop, insert your hook, and pull through everything. And we're going to continue to put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And a really quick tip when it comes to doing our back loop slip stitches is once we finish every stitch, make sure that we're not accidentally tugging too tightly on our working yarn. Otherwise, a falling row could be a little too tight to work into. Now that we've made our way all the way down with our back loop slip stitches, Along the top right here, we're going to increase because we want our front panel to scoop upwards. So what we're going to do is do a chain 2. Now that first chain is going to count as a stitch, and that second chain is going to count as our turning chain. And now that we have our chain 2, we're going to flip our work. We're going to skip that first chain, and then into that second chain, insert your hook into that back loop. So we're going to skip 1, into that following chain, insert into that back loop, gently yarn over, pull through everything, and then continue to put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And at the end of this row, we are going to chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And I'll meet you back along the top just once more so that we can increase again. So I've just made my way all the way down with my back loop slip stitch row and made my way all the way back up. And now that we're on the increase end, we're going to do another increase together. So just as a refresher, we're going to chain 2. First chain is going to count as a stitch, second chain is going to count as our turning chain, and flip our work. Now skipping that first chain into that second chain from our hook, insert with a back loop slip stitch, and then continue to put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and then that's it. We're just going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until this portion can stretch over to mid collarbone, and keeping in mind that we are stretching it as if we were wearing it because it has a decent amount of stretch to it. So I'm going to keep doing this until I reach mid collarbone, and I will meet you back on the increase end. Alright, so I am back with the increase portion of my front panel. Now I have a total of 10 rows, and my width is just about 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters unstretched, and we did end on the increase end. Now from here, we're going to make a chain that reaches all the way up to the top of our shoulder. I've already measured mine out. I need a total of 7 inches or 18 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 25. Now that we have our chain, we're going to do a slip stitch row all the way down. So to start by blocking off that last chain, do a chain 1 and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch, and that's basically it. We're going to be putting 1 slip stitch into every chain. Once we reach the body portion, we're going to be putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. Now this is going to be the shoulder portion, so we will not have to do any increases or decreases for the rows. So at the end of every row, just chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch until we get the width of the shoulder portion that we want. So go ahead and get that portion all finished up, and I will meet you guys back along the bottom so that we can do our underarm portion together. Alright, so I am back and I have just finished up my shoulder portion. Now, counting from our first single crochet row all the way to where I ended, I have a total of 17 rows, and this width is just about 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters unstretched. Now from here, we're going to be doing our underarm. So first things first, we're going to want to put this up to ourselves and then insert our stitch marker right where the corner of our underarm is. Now mine is in my 25th stitch from the top. That's just about 7 inches or 18 centimeters. And now from here, since we all should have ended along the bottom, we're going to be putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch until we have 2 stitches right before our stitch marker. And now that I've just made my way all the way up with my back loop slip stitches, we should have 1, 2 stitches left right before our stitch marker stitch. So now let's do our decrease. How we're going to do that is insert our hook into that second to last stitch's back loop, pull through, also insert your hook into that following stitch's back loop, and then once we have all 3 of those loops on our hook, just yarn over, pull through all 3. Now that is our decrease of 2. Now for the underarm portion, we are going to be decreasing into every row. So from here, we're going to chain 1, flip our work, and start this row with a decrease as well. So just like how we did the other one, insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row's back loop, pull through into that following stitch's back loop, and when we have those 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, and that's it. Continue to put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch to reach the end of the row, and then from there it's just going to be a repeat of these 2 rows. So at the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch while doing a decrease of 2 into the last 2 back loops. And then just to work our way up to the following row, chain 1, flip our work, and start that following row off with a decrease as well. Now from here, we're just going to continue to repeat these 2 rows until this portion that we have can stretch all the way to mid underarm. And then I will meet you guys back once we have the entirety of our underarm portion all finished up right after a chain up of 1 and cut, and we all must end along the top. Right, so I am back. I have just finished up my underarm portion, and counting from my first single crochet row, I now have a total of 24 rows. Now I did do a chain up of one cut right after we ended along the top, and now we're going to repeat everything we just did here on the other side. So I'm just going to talk you guys through where to insert your hook. So first things first, make sure that our work is flipped right side up, meaning the cable is faced up towards us, and the shoulder portion is faced away from us. Now from here, we're just going to insert our hook into the top corner stitch of the cable stitch detail, and then we're going to do our single crochet row, and then we're going to repeat everything from the other side. Once we do a chain up of one and cut, and then I will meet you back. Alright, so I am back and the entirety of my front panel is all finished. Now I have a total width of 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters, and that is unstretched. I did a chain up of one and cut, and now we're ready to get started on the back panel. Now I already have my back panel all finished up, so I'm just going to do a little swatch with you guys just to show you guys how it's done. So getting started on the back panel, we're all going to grab our same category 4 yarn, our same 6mm hook, and we're all going to start by making a chain for the same amount of stitches that we have for our last underarm row right over here. So if you guys have my numbers, I had a total of 19 stitches left, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 19. Now that we have our chain, we're going to do a slip stitch row. So we already know how to do this. What we're going to do is block off that last chain, do a chain 1 into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert our hook into there with a slip stitch, so just yarn over, pull through everything, and then we're going to put one slip stitch into every chain, but we will leave the last one so that we can increase together. Alright, so we've just put one slip stitch into every chain. Into that last chain, we're now going to be doing an increase of 2 single crochets. Yes, I said single crochets, and we're doing single crochets instead of slip stitches because the slip stitches can very easily get lost when we're doing them. So if we're not keeping count of our numbers, then we can accidentally be skipping one. And also doing the single crochets instead of the slip stitches doesn't really make it look any different, so it's a win-win. So what we're going to do, into that last chain, we're going to insert our hook, pull through 2, there's our first single crochet, and now we're going to do one more into that same stitch. Into there, pull through 2, now that is our increase of 2 single crochets. Now for the underarm portion where we're going to be doing our increase, there's always going to be an increase of 2 single crochets. So from here we're going to chain 1, flip our work, and then into that last stitch from our previous row, go ahead and insert your hook in through that back loop, with our increase of 2 back loop single crochets now. So there's our first back loop single crochet, and then into that same back loop, a second single crochet. So there's my first, there's my second, but the rest of the row is still going to be back loop slip stitches because we want it to look like the front panel. So into that next stitch is back loop, insert your hook, pull through everything, next stitch is back loop, pull through everything. We're just going to continue to do this, making our way all the way down. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, making our way back up, leaving the last stitch just so we can increase together once more. Alright, so 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, making our way all the way down, did a chain 1, flipped our work, and then made it all the way back up, leaving that last stitch. So just as a refresher, our increase is always going to be an increase of 2 back loop single crochets. So to do this together, insert your hook into that last stitch's back loop with 1 single crochet, and then into that same back loop with a second single crochet. And then that's it. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we have the same amount of rows as our underarm portion for our front panel. So if you guys have my numbers, I had a total of 7 rows. So I will be doing 7 rows, and then I'll meet you back so that we can do the main portion of the back. And just as a quick tip, we should end along the increase end. Alright, so as you guys can see, my underarm and the rest of my back is all finished up, but the rest of the back is going to be pretty simple. Once we have our underarm portion all finished up, we're then going to make a chain for the same amount of stitches that we skipped right before we got started on our underarm portion for the front panel. So if you guys have my numbers, I skipped a total of 25 stitches. So over here, I made a chain of 25. And now from here, we're just going to do back loop slip stitch rows with no increases and no decreases for the same amount of rows that we have in between our shoulder portion, our cable stitch section, and then this shoulder portion right over here. And when it comes to counting the amount of rows that we need for our cable stitch section, we all originally made a chain of 9. So however many rows we have for this portion and this portion should be the same on both sides since they are repeated. Just add an additional 9 to make up for the width of the cable stitch section. So just in case if you guys are wondering, from my first shoulder row for my back panel all the way to my last one, that is a total of 43 rows for me, or a total of 50 rows. And then once we have that, we do need to do our underarm as well. But this underarm is actually going to be done the same exact way that we did this one, so I'm just going to talk you guys through it. But once when we're ready to do our underarm portion, which we should all end along the bottom, we're going to be inserting our stitch marker into the same amount of stitches that we skipped when we started our underarm portion. So again, if you guys have my numbers, I skipped a total of 25 stitches. So along the back panel, I inserted my stitch marker into the 25th stitch and then did an exact repeat of my front panel's underarm for the same amount of rows and everything. Once we have that all finished up, I did a chain up of 1 and cut, and then once we have that, we can seam everything together. Alright, so now that our back panel's all finished up, we are ready to seam our sides together. So first things first, we're going to need to lay our front panel on top of our back panel, making sure that the cable stitch section is faced up towards us, because this is going to be an outside loop slip stitch seam. Next, we're going to be inserting our hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through everything, and then do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now from here, to do the first one, we're all going to start by finding that first available stitch into the front panel. Go ahead and insert your hook in through that front loop. Next, find that next stitch into the back panel, insert your hook in through that back loop, and then once we have all 3 of those loops on our hook, we're just going to yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops. Let's do this again. Into that next stitch into the front panel, insert in through that front loop, next stitch into the back panel, insert in through that back loop, pull through everything, and we're doing this seam so that it looks like an extra slip stitch row. We're going to continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so now that our side seams are all finished up, let's seam the shoulders together. So seaming the shoulders, it's going to be a single crochet seam. So make sure their work is now flipped wrong side out, so meaning the cable that we have is flipped along the inside. Next, we're going to insert our hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then insert your yarn onto your hook. Now from here, we're going to do a chain up of 1 to secure, and then we're going to single crochet across, making sure we're working in through both the front and the back panel at the same time. So within my front panel, we're all going to start by finding that first available side row. This raised row is my first row right here, so I'm going to find that top loop and insert my hook into there. Along the back panel, we're going to do the same thing. My first side row is this divot row right here. So find that top loop, insert your hook, and then we can single crochet them together. There's our first one. Let's do the next one. Find the following row within the front panel, which is this divot for me. We're going to find that top loop, insert our hook. We're going to find that following row within the back panel, which is this raised row right here. Insert your hook into that top loop, and then single crochet, and then that's it. Continue to do this until we don't have any more side rows left to work into within the front panel. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then repeat on the other side. Alright, so now that everything is all seamed together, the next thing we're going to do is our bottom band. So first things first, make sure the work is flipped right side out. And then we're going to be inserting our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the back panel. Go ahead and insert your yarn onto your hook. Pull through, and then do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now to do this bottom band, we're going to have to do a single crochet row first. And the stitch sequence for this is going to be 1 single crochet into one side row, and then a decrease of 2 into the following side row. So let's get this started. My first side row is this raised row right over here. If yours is a divot row, that's completely fine. Just find that top loop, insert your hook into that stitch with 1 single crochet. Now into our following 2 side rows, we're going to be doing a decrease of 2 single crochets. So my following side row is this divot and then this raised row. So into that divot row, I'm going to insert my hook into that top loop, pull through, and then into my following row as well, which is this raised row, find that top loop, insert your hook, pull through. Once we have those 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. That is our decrease. Now let's do this again. My following side row is this divot row. Since we just did our decrease, we're going to be doing a single crochet into that top loop. And then into my following 2 side rows, a decrease. So this is my following side row, which is this raised row. We're going to find that top loop, insert your hook into there, pull through, and then into the row right after that, which is this divot row. Insert your hook into that top loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then that's it. We're going to continue to do this, making our way all the way around the bottom. And the same stitch sequence is going to apply underneath the cable stitch section as well, because we should have just some regular stitches to work into. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, slip stitch into that chain space, and then I will meet you back. Alright, so my single crochet row is all finished up, and right before we get started on the length of our bottom band, I just want to advise you guys to actually try on our piece. This single crochet row is going to be as wide as the bottom band can stretch. So just try this on, make sure that it can fit over your shoulders, and then once when it is on, just make sure that it fits to your body nicely. And if it's just a little bit too tight, you guys are more than welcome to redo a few stitches with a looser grip, or even add some stitches. Just make sure that you end on an even number. Or if it's too loose, go ahead and redo some stitches a little bit tighter, or take some away, and that needs to end on an even number as well. But once when we have our single crochet row all finished up, we have slip stitch into that chain space, we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our bottom band to be. Now I just want my bottom band to be about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 8. Now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 3. Now that chain 3 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain. And from here we're going to double crochet into that chain that we blocked off, or the 4th chain from our hook. So yarn over, into that 4th chain, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then put 1 double crochet into every chain. Now that we've put 1 double crochet into every chain, we're going to be slip stitching it into the base. So how we're going to do that is we're going to start by counting up the next 2 available stitches. So here's 1, here's 2. Into that 2nd stitch, go ahead and insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through everything to close off this first row. And then just to work our way up to the following row, we do need to slip stitch up the following 2 stitches as well. So into that next stitch, insert your hook with a slip stitch, and then into the stitch right after that, another slip stitch. When we have that, go ahead and flip your work, and we're just going to be putting 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch now, so yarn over. Find the last stitch from our previous row and insert your hook only into that back loop with a double crochet, and then continue to put 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 3, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch again, and I'll meet you back at the base to connect it. So I've just finished up my 2nd back loop double crochet row and my 3rd back loop double crochet row. Now we should be at the base, and we're just going to connect it together. So connecting our 3rd row, we're going to count up 1, 2 stitches, slip stitch into that 2nd stitch into the base. And then from here, to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch up that next available stitch, and then also that following stitch. So slip stitching up the next 2 stitches into the base, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch, and then that is it. We're just going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows, connecting it into the base the same way that we just did, with no increases and no decreases until we don't have any more stitches into the base left to work into. Then I will meet you back to seam it together. Alright, so we have made our way all the way around with our back loop double crochet bottom band. And now from here we're going to seam it together. So first things first, this is going to be a single crochet seam, so we're going to need to flip our work wrong side out. Right after that, we are going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. And now let's just do the first one, since we should already know how to do this seam. Start by finding that first available stitch into the front panel, insert your hook in through there. Find that next available stitch into the back panel, insert your hook in through there, and then single crochet, and then that's it. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. So now that our bottom band's all finished up, the next thing we're going to do is our collar. So first things first, we're going to need to single crochet along the entirety of our neckline. So I made sure that my work is flipped right side out, right side up, and then I insert my hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the back. Now from here, insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through, go ahead and do a chain up of 1 to secure, and we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row and then 1 single crochet into every stitch. So just to do the first few side rows, I'm going to find my first one right over here. Mine is a divot, so I'm going to insert my hook into that top loop, insert with a single crochet. Right after that is this raised row, so find my top loop within that row, and single crochet, and then that's pretty much it. We're going to continue to do this, making our way all the way around. We don't have any more stitches left to work into, slip stitch into that chain space. So the single crochet row along my collar is all finished up. Now we're going to do a double crochet row to prepare us for a front and back post double crochets. So from here, we're going to chain 3 and flip our work. And this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to make our way all the way around our collar, putting 1 double crochet into every stitch. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, slip stitch into that 3rd chain that we made when we started off this row, and then I will meet you back. So now our double crochet row is all finished up, and we're going to get started on our front and back post double crochets for the ribbing. So from here, all we're going to do is chain 2. Now to get started on our front post double crochet, we're going to yarn over and find the first double crochet from our previous row, making sure that it's not that chain 3. We're just going to bring our hook underneath the body of that first double crochet with the front post double crochet, and now we're going to do a back post. So to do a back post, we're going to yarn over, bring our hook underneath our work, and then over that following double crochet from our previous row. We're going to pull through 2, pull through 2, and now all together we should have a front and back post double crochet. Let's just do one more set. Yarn over, and starting with the front post double crochet, we're going to bring our hook underneath the body of that double, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then into that next stitch, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, and then bring our hook over the body of that following double crochet, and then that's it. Continue to do our front and back post double crochets, making our way all the way around. Slip stitch into that 2nd chain that we made when we started off this row, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. Alright, so I've just finished up the collar, and now I just need to clean up our armholes. So when doing the underarm one, we're going to want to make sure that our work is flipped right side out. Then right after that, we're going to be inserting our hook into the last stitch from our side seam. Start with a single crochet row. We have a few side rows to work into, so put 1 single crochet into every side row, 1 single crochet into every stitch, making our way all the way up and over. Then slip stitch into that chain space, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then repeat everything we just did here on the other side, and then I'll meet you back. And now that our single crochet rows along our armholes are all finished up, we are all done. Last thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!